This morning we're going to talk to Naresh Persaud of CA Technologies, and he's going to explain how a new way of thinking about identity can make applications more secure and more convenient for consumers. Hey Naresh.
Hey Dylan.
Very good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
So what is it that you do at CA?
So I'm in security product marketing.
So what's the big trend that you're seeing in the market for security?
Well, there's a huge epidemic of data breaches, and the technologies companies have been using aren't working.
What's going on? Has something changed?
Well, network breaches have actually declined in the past few years, but what's happened is the attacks have moved closer to the applications and the users. 80% of all confirmed data breaches can be traced back to lost, stolen, and weak credentials.
Can you say a little bit more about how data fits into this kind of identity-based approach to?
Sure, we depend upon policy-based security and rule-based security. So by taking an analytics-based approach, we look at the data you interact with. All of a sudden, we see the pattern change. And by the way, it changes maybe over some period drastically. We can tell the probability that it's fraudulent. Just looking at the normal activity and user interaction, we can establish a baseline on what users are doing, what's normal behavior. And from there, you can start looking at anomalous activity. I'll give you an example.
Right.
You know, let's say I travel to the Bahamas, right? You know, traveling out of the country using your credit card might seem fraudulent, but people travel all the time. But you know, if one day I travel to the Bahamas and I buy an 80-inch television, that potentially becomes suspect, right? You can see how a rule-based approach doesn't really solve that problem.
How does the kind of identity-based approach to security that you're talking about play into what developers are doing when they're building software?
Identity is no longer just who you are, it is what you do. As we open up our organizations and companies become software companies, more and more users need privileges to get things done. So what companies have to think about is, how do I give administrators, employees, the power to do the right things at the right time? You might download the customer database every Friday. That's not fraudulent behavior, but all of a sudden Naresh gets up one morning and he downloads the entire customer. It might be legitimate, I could be filling in for you, right? Like you went to the Bahamas to buy your 80-inch television. I hung out downloading your customer database. That might not be fraudulent, but all of a sudden,
you do want to raise a flag.
That's right. If you get security right, you elevate the experience for your customers. Security doesn't have to mean friction. Security doesn't have to mean inconvenience.
Well, Naresh, I've really enjoyed talking with you. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I especially like the point where you said that identity is not about who you are, but what you do. That feels very deep to me.
Good. Well, I'm glad it was informative. So thank you for having me over. Yes.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, and hopefully I have security clearance to leave here when I...
We'll find out.